Let's jump into the Roto World player news as you get ready for championship weekend. A lot of injuries to go through, and we start with some good news, which is always nice during our Roto World player news. C.J. Stroud set to return after clearing concussion protocol. Stroud has missed the last 2 games. On top of that, his wide receiver Nico Collins and his left tackle Laramie Tunsil practiced in full on Thursday. Jay, this is an offense that when they have these 3 guys, and it's, you can't replace Tank Dell, but at least with these 3 guys, very viable passing attack.
Absolutely. Against the Titans defense that shouldn't provide too much resistance. Now, this line has actually dropped from Texans minus 5.5 down to Texans minus 4. That has nothing to do with the offense. The Texans don't have any defensive linemen practicing at the moment. They're all injured. They're all DMPs 2 days in a row, basically. But on offense, I think that backup producer Pete had a really good call that he texted me earlier. Nico Collins is set at 59.5 yards on DraftKings. That's way too low. I'm sorry. The market just doesn't adjust properly when there is a guy missing and Houston has to go elsewhere. And we just haven't seen that much Nico without Tank Dell with CJ Stroud. So I think Nico Collins should be a proper monster this week.
Yeah, I definitely expect Nico Collins with CJ Stroud to go up from his 4 receptions and 8. He did score the touchdown, but 4 receptions, 18 yards. We fully expect him to up those numbers a lot with C.J. Stroud back under center.
Over for the Vikings, they named quarterback Jaren Hall, the rookie out of BYU, as the starter against the Packers. Meanwhile, his wide receiver Jordan Addison was limited in practice on Thursday. As we take a look at Matthew's top 10 wide receiver ranks for Week 17, obviously Hall will be under center, and you might ask yourself how that impacts Justin Jefferson. Hall said, "I think I've gotten better in every area since I first got here, but there's obviously a lot still to prove." Justin Jefferson for Matthews still comes in as wide receiver 3, only behind CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill. Lawrence is a good matchup against Green Bay, especially without Jair Alexander. But how much does Jefferson become limited with the youngster under center?
I don't think much, because when you really think about it, the Vikings, since Kirk Cousins, you had Josh Dobbs. He was okay here and there. You had Nick Mullins, who he's a little more like, I'm a go-getter with the football. But they're backups, and now you getting Jaren Hall, another backup. Remember, this is the guy who originally was the backup for Kirk Cousins this season. That's 1. 2, he's the only one out of Nick Mullins himself and Josh Dobbs who hasn't been benched due to ineffectiveness. So small sample size, but he got off to a very good start against Atlanta before he had that concussion. So not a lot of people will know him, so it'll be easier to be like, whatever. But this is a rookie. You lost TJ Hockenson, Jordan Addison banged up. Well, who else you gonna call on? It's gonna be Justin Jefferson. He's definitely the most mobile of all of these quarterbacks. Not the big arm, but smart decision maker. We'll see what happens.
In the same game, the Packers have their own issues at wide receiver with Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks not practicing on Thursday. Jaden Reed was limited, so looking right for Reed. And we move over to the full list of injuries we're tracking going into Week 17 over the weekend. Josh Jacobs still not practicing on Thursday with that quad injury. If you've had Samir White, he's helped you out for sure. Zach Moss limited. Michael Pittman coming out of concussion protocol full. Good sign on Pittman. Trevor Lawrence with the shoulder did not practice on Thursday. Zay Jones was limited in practice. Cole Kmet dealing with the knee. Kyler Murray and Zeke Elliott both seeing a lot of illness during flu season on the injury reports right now. Kyler Murray has missed the last couple of days. Zeke, I'm sure he'll get ready to play in time, but obviously a little concerning on a Thursday status. Juju Smith-Schuster didn't practice with the ankle. Jay, with Trevor Lawrence on that list not practicing Thursday with a shoulder injury, one of many injuries he's had this year, where does your trust go with Calvin Ridley and Travis Etienne, whether Lawrence plays or not?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Doug Peterson said that Lawrence was going to get in a limited practice. Then he didn't.
Right.
He didn't practice. So
we
that's a bad sign.
opened the show saying that.
Yes. So that's a bad sign to start. The line has also dropped from Jags -8 to Jags -6 against the Panthers. In terms of Calvin Ridley, I don't feel. I mean, the thing is this offense has been bad anyway with Lawrence banged up. So I think that Ridley will take a hit without Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think it's complete curtains for him if it is CJ Beathard at quarterback. Because Beathard, I mean, he's not the most inspiring quarterback in the world, but he did play okay against the Bengals when he got in there. And also with Travis Etienne, I don't think this really hurts his value that much because the Panthers have a terrible run defense. And I think that the Jags would lean on the run more than ever, lean on these Brees Hall type of Simeon dump-off passes to Etienne as well. So I don't think Etienne moves around too much, Lawrence.
Yeah, Travis Etienne, like you said, I think it hurts more for Calvin Ridley because we've seen long stretches with Ridley, even with Trevor Lawrence, where it wasn't good. But when you get in these situations, just from a football perspective, you definitely want to lean on the run game. And Travis Etienne he's the top 5 running back in fantasy this year. It just don't really seem like it, but you know he is. I do want to ask y'all this. You talked about that line going down from Jags -8 to now -6. The Panthers, they just took it to Green Bay. Didn't pull out the win, but Bryce Young playing the best game of his young career. Being a touchdown favorite, being a touchdown underdog, are these Panthers live for the upset?
I think they are, but interested for your thoughts, Connor, on Bryce Young. Do you think that was just a product of the Green Bay defense, which has been poor, or do you think he made tangible improvement?
If you look at Joe Barry's lack of success against underachieving and just poor quarterbacks this year, there's a track record there. There's a long list. It's really insane.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito got busy.
Right. It feels like his defense is not – it hasn't stopped much of anyone. Packers fans, he's like public enemy number 1. Yeah. But I think to Bryce's credit, he played fast, confident, and accurate, and – maybe there's something going now without Frank Reich's staff there that they're trying some new wrinkles, or maybe just a new confidence with him having a different voice in the room. I think he looked the closest to Alabama Bryce Young that we've seen in his NFL career. And it makes you wonder if they actually build some skill players around him and an offensive line. He's going to be fine for all the overreactions we had to deal with.
Yep, and if it is CJ, I don't think the CJ Beathard Jags should be 6-point favorites over anyone. To be honest, I think that line will drop if it is Lawrence that goes. But no, I think the Panthers, particularly with the way they're playing on defense at the moment, and it wasn't amazing against the Packers, but they have been improved, particularly in the secondary. I think they're live to win that game for sure.
Let's get to the rest of the injuries we're tracking. Deebo Samuel was limited on Thursday with a neck injury. Brian Robinson was limited coming off of this long hamstring injury. Jamar Chase with the shoulder was limited. That's really interesting with Chase. We didn't know if this could be an extended absence for him, so keep an eye on him today. Isaiah Pacheco with a concussion and shoulder did not practice. Kenny Pickett was back with the ankle injury he's dealt with for a couple of weeks. Najee Harris with the knee was limited after missing practice the day before. Kenneth Walker dealing with a shoulder injury and illness didn't practice. DK Metcalf with a back injury didn't practice. Cortland Sutton in concussion protocol, no practice for him. And Keenan Allen continues to deal with a heel injury that keeps him out of practice. Lawrence, when you look at Sutton in concussion protocol not practicing Thursday, what is this Broncos offense with Jarrett Stidham, not Russell Wilson under center?
Yeah, when you throw a backup quarterback in there, you want to have – it's ideal to have the top receiver in there. It's it's a nice matchup for the Broncos going against the Chargers defense, although the Chargers defense has played a little better lately outside of that Raiders game. So even with Sutton, possibly not playing, like you want to have a practice this late in the week for your star receiver, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see Jarrett Stidham or what Jerry Jeudy could possibly do. But Jerry Jeudy has had games without Sutton as well, and that hasn't amounted to much. We just talked about leaning on the run game in these situations, but Javonte Williams and McLaughlin, they're not those type of running. They're not on the level of an ETN. So it'll be interesting. It will be tough because although the Chargers don't have that great of a defense, they have playmakers on that side of the ball, and the offense as a whole has just been stagnant. It seems like they calling 3 plays. So I don't know if Sean Payton was doing that on purpose for Russell, but we'll see what it's like this week.
Yeah, Stidham had some moments in his brief cameo last season. He can move the ball, but ultimately I think the only Broncos player you'd feel good about starting is Javonte Williams, and even then you don't feel amazing about it. But on DraftKings, he's set at 58.5 rushing yards, plus 120 anytime touchdown. So from that, that's 15 yards higher than Brees Hall was set last night in terms of his rushing yards and maybe a 40% chance of a touchdown.
Stidham's last couple games at the end of last year parlayed him into a nice backup quarterback contract.
Yeah.
He got a 2-year deal worth pretty good money.
Lit up the Niners.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.